Let's manifest this, David Yontef. Next Bravocon, me and you, we're hosting a panel. What is our panel and who is on it?
Ooh, I mean, I'm so biased in that. Look, I don't love the mixed panels necessarily
Okay.
at
Okay.
BravoCon. Unless
Controversial
there's
opinion.
unless there's like a theme. And I mean like mixed in terms of like, okay, we have, Margaret from Jersey Housewives, we have Kyle Cook from Summer House, we have Reza from Shaw's. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting, but I like a really focused, like, this is the Real Housewives of Potomac panel. Next,
Okay.
this is the Summer House. I mean, I don't know. I don't mind a mixed panel, but it seems like there's no, how do they choose the people? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the rhyme and reason is lacking a little bit sometimes in some of these panels.
Like if they did like a people that have had criminal or danced around criminality and they had like Erica Jane, even though
Yes.
she herself hasn't, but because of Tom, we had
Yeah.
Teresa, we had Luann who was arrested. That's interesting. Like if there was a theme to the panel.
MeMeCherry presents a series of fortunate events, fortunate events, fortunate events, a series of fortunate events.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the series of Fortunate Events, a podcast brought to you by who? Still me, MeMeCherry, and oh my gosh, the constellation of stars that has joined me on the show is shining brighter today thanks to the host of the hit podcast Behind the Velvet Rope, the man I call the Bravo Esquire, the one, the only David Yontef.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, my dear?
Thank you for having me on this
Yes.
Monday.
Yes. I feel like we've been on a Sadie Hawkins dance for the last few days. Will you dance with me? Yes, I will. Not right now. Get on my dance card.
I know. Listen, this has not been a quiet year, has it?
And I am not a quiet woman, so we're on trend.
So welcome.
Yes. So I know a lot about you. But for my listeners, the kitty cats, the unicorns, everybody in between, I want you to tell them a little bit about your pre-podcaster life. I know I hinted at Bravo Esquire. It's because you have some legal background. You were an executive. And so tell me a little bit about your pre-podcast life, please.
I mean, it really could not be further from reality TV podcasting if I tried. I mean, really, I went to law school and then I practiced corporate tax law for quite a while. Then when I left that, I fell into HR and recruiting. So I really went from like law to recruiting to HR, and I had my own like staffing agency. So I really did a whole bunch of stuff that had nothing to do with media, entertainment, interviewing. I mean, I really taught myself, not just podcasting, but like journalism. Like I mean, I look back at like my early shows and people are like, these are so good. I'm like, these are horrible. Thank you very much. I mean, and there's some really good interviews in there in the beginning, but I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't know what I was doing. Like things just kind of happened. Like, look, they say if you do something for 1,000 hours, you become an expert at it. I mean, I've done well over 1,000 hours of interviews now, but I really taught myself. I taught myself in how to interview.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a skill. And I think it evolves over time as you evolve as a person, as media evolves. I went diving into like my reviews on Apple Reviews. My podcast has been like on and off over the years. And so it's like an old review, and it was reviewing my interview with Bob the drag queen. And it was like, oh, the host is so wishy-washy. Can they hold an opinion? And it's like, I was geeking out on, like, I was fangirling. I'm so sorry. Yes. Sue me.
Bob is a good one. I had Bob on my show. And then, of course, I wanted to get Bob on now that he's on tour with Miss Madonna.
Oh my gosh,
but,
yes.
He's a little busy these days, isn't
Oh,
he?
just a tiny bit. I mean, between Madonna, between her own podcast, the stand-up tour. I mean, it's everything. It's everything and anything in between. No, but I love when you have your legal eagle point of view my day gig, I work at Redacted Company and I work for lawyers. And so it's just like I'm an executive assistant. And so I love kind of like, I love lawyers for some reason. So I'm just like very geeked out that you're a lawyer. Or
I mean,
you're not practicing still, right?
no, I don't practice, but I mean, listen, being a lawyer really does help me do my job. Like, it really is
Yeah.
3 years of like learning how to think a certain way. And it does help when you are interviewing people and you have questions which are targeted, and it's like this answer could be whatever you want it to be, but
Yes.
regardless, this answer is going to cause, either on one side of it or the other. So that's where you just learn how, and like legal skills do come in handy with what I do.
Yeah, no, and I feel like for you, especially going back to like, oh, that I've been flip-floppy along the way, or I've been sensitive. I've definitely learned how to have a thicker skin now. You are, I mean, you're like a cobra. You're just like out there like, don't fuck with me.
I mean, it's like, look, I think it's like a learned skill. And I feel that even at times when I've said, I don't care what people say, I think I said that, but looking back, I probably still cared. But that's just the same thing also with life. Like, if you look at someone like an Erica Jane, like people exist, like you don't go away and die. So when you go through something that's so public and then you're still surviving, it's actually the opposite. It's like empowered, right? Like, what could someone say about Erica Jane at this point? It's just another Tuesday. So I feel the same way, in the sense that like you just get used to people. Look, the bottom line is nobody tries to bring someone down that's not successful. It's just that simple. That is the society that we live in. It's the sick
let your haters be
world
your motivators.
yeah. And so like, okay, this just is, I say all the time, because Housewives blocked me, and I'm like, I don't know why. I didn't really say anything that bad, but grow a thicker skin. Like, this is the job. And so, I mean, I think if I were to preach that all day, like, okay, Tamara Judge blocked me, get over it, but yet I got hot and bothered by everything someone said, it's kind of like being a hypocrite. So I really don't care what people say. And like, when people say things, it's such a microcosm of what's out there. And like, really hardcore people that follow me might see something, but you really have to realize like the general population of the world and who's listening to me doesn't even know this trash exists. And even so, like, it's like, it seems like a big deal. Like, people will send me things like, you sent me this, and I'm like, I get it, but like, most people don't even know that exists. And even if so, like, look, could you look into doing things about it? Sure. But like, at the end of the day, it's like, it's not affecting anything. Like, it's like, okay, it's not, it doesn't affect anything. The numbers are the same. And so you're like, I mean, if you get pissed off about whatever everyone says about you, then that's a bigger problem in the world, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, it took me a while. I got caught up in the whole like, oh, you get caught up in like a Twitter storm, or like, I've had kind of like micro versions of like going viral in like small communities and things like that. And when you have the heat on you, it's not easy. But after you've been in the kitchen long enough and you've burned yourself a couple times and you have the scars, but then you notice that like those scars really is just part of your story, then it's not so scary to be in the kitchen anymore. You know what I mean?
Totally. And the other thing you have to realize is when you're in that Twitter thing, or like, it's just like people's minds are made up. So you actually being a lawyer, I mean, listen, this is actually hard for me because I am so good at the clapback, because it is in my nature as a lawyer. I can come up, if I were on a reality TV show, I would be like Bethany. I could come up with a one-liner, I could clap back at you and destroy you with one sentence. So it's hard when you're good at something. But the thing is, when you're in those Twitter storms, like, the people that don't like you have made up their mind. So you can give your crafty, witty clapback argument, which actually makes complete sense. You won this round. Everything you're saying, you just showed the other person up. It doesn't matter. If when you're in there, all the people that want to come for you are still going to come for you, and it's never ending. And then you're like, they'll use
that clap back against you.
Yeah, there's just literally no point in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No, for sure. I definitely have noticed that, like, you seem Sarah teases that, like, oh, it's, the dosage has changed and that's changed as a person. I don't think that's what it is. I do think that we navigate life, right? Like, I struggled a little bit earlier this year with a few different things in my personal life, in my business life, and now that I've kind of come through it, I feel lighter. I feel better. I'm able to work out at the gym. I'm able to show up for my community because I'm not going through the fucking shitstorm that I was going through. You know what I mean? And so you seem brighter and lighter the last like month or so. So I love that for you. I'm hoping that means that like life is lighter and brighter for you. And so I want to ask you, I feature a lot of different types of performers, and one of the root questions that I found myself asking, I say that I'm the love child of Barbara Walters and Andy Cohen, so the first portion is a little bit Barbara Walters, and then we'll go into the Andy Cohen games. And so one of my root questions is why? And so why drag or why singing? For you, like, why podcasting? What is your why?
I mean, I think that it started as a hobby. It didn't start as a business. It started as I have this knowledge of reality TV and Housewives, and I don't even know if I'm going to like this. But then I did, and then it became a business. And I realized I really am into the business side of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's that, I don't know. I mean, I have something to say, and I feel the more it kept going, I feel it's so hard to have a successful podcast and especially to monetize it. And so it's
That's extra hard.
lucky. I mean, I work really hard at it, but I feel lucky. No, I mean, I don't know, you shouldn't just do something because you're good at it, but it just feeds something in my soul that, listen, I grew up loving pop culture, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's really podcasting. I mean, if you wanted me to talk about the financial markets or the war that's going on, those are not my strong suits. So I wouldn't be great at that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a voice in this community and in Bravo and podcasting and Housewives and reality TV. And so it just feeds something in the soul that, I mean, who doesn't want to be listened to if you're going to talk all day, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and you've hit lightning. Lightning is striking, and it's striking just right for you. And it's kind of nice to watch. Non-Bravo related, who is your favorite interview so far that's not a Bravo celebrity?
oh my God, there's so many.
Right? It's like asking who's your favorite child.
And it changes. Look, I did the last interview ever with Anne Heche. And even regardless of that, I loved Anne Heche.
Yeah.
So she just was warm and so then you look at a Susan Lucci, I mean, Erica Kane, she had nothing to promote. It was a friend of it was a whole long story about how I got her. And it was just I mean, what am I doing here with Susan Lucci?
Yes.
Suzanne Summers, who just passed away. I had her twice. So there are definitely it's kind of the legends, the big, but there wasn't just that they were huge. It's that they were wonderful. What is my life that I'm sitting here with Erica Kane, who is the most, you can't even argue it, the number one most famous daytime reality, daytime soap opera actress ever to exist. What are you doing on my podcast with nothing to promote, no manager, no agent? You're just literally doing this. And it was a friend of a friend of a friend, but that means nothing in this business. And she was just so gracious,
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
So that.
Yeah, so Bravocon weekend just wrapped up. I did not go. You did not go either. I want to go just like you when they pay me to be there for media. If you were going to be, okay, let's manifest this, David Yontef. Next Bravocon, me and you, we're hosting a panel. What is our panel and who is on it?
Ooh, I mean, I'm so biased in that. Look, I don't love the mixed panels necessarily at Bravocon.
Controversial opinion.
Unless there's a theme. And I mean mixed in terms of okay, we have, Margaret from Jersey Housewives. We have Kyle Cook from Summer House. We have Reza from Shaw's. I mean, it's kind of interesting, but I a really focused, this is the Real Housewives of Potomac panel. Next, this is the Summer House. I mean, I don't know. I don't mind a mixed panel, but it seems like there's no, how do they choose the people? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the rhyme and reason is lacking a little bit sometimes in some of these panels.
Like if they did like a people that have had criminal or danced around criminality and they had like Erica Jane, even though
Yes.
she herself hasn't, but because of Tom, we had
Yeah.
Teresa, we had Luann who was arrested. That's interesting. Like if there was a theme to the panel, so
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
we would do that panel. We would have Erica, we would have Luann, we would have
Monica, that's her
Teresa,
name from Salt Lake.
Monica,
Who she's the one that it turned in, well, not turned in, but like talked to the feds or whatever.
Jen Shaw. She could be representing Jen Shaw. I mean, and there's got to be, if we thought maybe Shannon Bedore we could have on there. So
Yes.
just like that's an interesting panel
Oh,
to me.
Shannon.
Or short of that, I would just go old school. I mean, I'm biased. I love Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I like seeing really rich people on my TV. I do.
I agree. The aspiration of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. We love aspirational. Well, you way back when you've seen the behind the scenes of what happens in some of these types of shows with your Millionaire Matchmaker moment. Do you have anything that you can share that like people that have not been on a reality show set would be surprised to know about like what happens behind the scenes?
I mean, look, like it is produced. I mean, it's not fake. I mean, it's that, yeah, you have to shoot certain scenes, walking down a street, opening a door. You have to shoot
Are those
scenes
super
more than
awkward?
once. You get used to it. You get used to it. I mean, I think, yeah. So, I mean, it's produced, but it still is real. I mean, no one, like on Millionaire Matchmaker in my old experience, and I went on a date, and then they did edit it like this is the most boring date ever. And there was like birds chirping, and you could hear a pin drop. I mean, that is a humorous edit, but it's not like so far from the truth. I mean, I couldn't tell in the experience of being on a Millionaire Matchmaker, I was going to get a like, this date is so boring edit, but I was on the date and it was really boring.
And it was boring.
So
yeah.
it's not like
They're not turning chocolate into vanilla.
Yeah. And like people do say things like, well, I made that comment 3 hours later. I've never experienced that in any reality TV I've been on where I'm like screaming at one person and it makes it look like I'm screaming at someone else. Nothing like that. It's just more like a story is crafted. And it's, I mean, it is TV. Like what else do they have to do?
Of course. We can keep it short and sweet because I know you've covered it on your podcast, but in your cunty opinion, what do you think of the Vanity Fair? Is it an expose article? It was a well-written article.
I mean, so I'm really good friends with Ebony K. Williams. Like I've spoken to Ebony. So I really want, it's so funny because everyone wants me to do a show. And listen, I'm going to do a full hour podcast on the Vanity Fair article, which I've known is coming forever. I would like to give Ebony a chance to, I would like to do the show with Ebony and talk about everything. And then if that doesn't happen, I will do it, you know, alone or with like my regular co-host, Sarah Fraser, you know, who's on twice a week. But so it's going to happen. I feel like I need to, because it just came up on a show and I'm like, it's not that I don't want to comment. It's like, especially with Leah, I really need to sit down with this article, take out a pen, and I need to really focus because it was a long article. Like, I don't even understand what's going on with Leah. Now Leah says that she will not settle, which, I mean, girl, everyone says that until there's money in front of you. You know what I mean? Like she wants to sue. So I just want to like, I mean, overall, what do I think of the reality reckoning? It's like, I agree with a lot of it. Like it's true. They do ply you with alcohol. I was plied with alcohol on Millionaire Matchmaker. Like, you know, I just had Allison Dubois on, the psychic medium from Beverly. You know, she has a case of false imprisonment with that dinner party from hell. She's like, I couldn't leave. She's like, they sent a car for me. And when I went to leave, the car was not there and they would not call the car back until I was finished. So it's a lot of it's true. It is all true. I just don't know like what happens. And is it, I mean, I see both sides of it. You know, it's, I don't know. I mean, do people think that they can't say no? I mean, I guess, sure.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
isn't that,
it's the whole
like
power
any
dynamic
job?
conversation. Yeah, but I think it comes down to like the power dynamic conversation and like, the personality type of the person that would put themselves in that position anyway. You know what I mean? Like there's so many layers to the psychology of a person and motivation, right? Because that at the end of the day is ultimately what comes down to like why you do something or not do something. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think, in my country opinion, I think it'll lead to small changes, but that's how change happens. It's like you gotta rattle the cage and then maybe one little banana falls down. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
that banana could mean the difference for somebody.
Totally. And what I think is more interesting
Yeah.
is like Bethany has this voice. There's also this whole school of thought now that Bethany was contacted for the article like everyone else and knew that it was being, and then said, wait a second, I want to be the face of this, but I'm not telling
Mm.
anyone. There is that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw that. That's out there now. So
Mm.
I find that to be more interesting, that like Bethany is like the face of this, so to speak. But yet, if you look at like, and I'm not just saying this because we're friends, but like if you look at the people that are like, let's see if Leah actually sues. I'm not friends with Leah. Let's see if Leah actually sues. Like, I think the people that are actually making changes are,
Yeah.
I mean, Ramona was not invited to
What
Bravocon.
a mess.
You can say it's because of her, but really, if you want to tie that to someone else, it would be Ebony. So if you
Mm-hmm.
think about it, Ebony is making the change. And if
Yeah.
Leah sues Bravo, I need to read the claims. Like Leah is now making a change. And so I
Yeah,
think,
those are the keystones.
yeah, and others. So I think it's like for Bethany to say she's making a change, but yet other people are actually taking the bullets. I think that to me is the conversation I want to have. And I'm not coming for Bethany. It's just more of like,
It's a little self-proclaimed, this,
yeah,
spear of the army that she's kind of given herself,
yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, all good, but like, even when Kelly Ben Simone revealed at Bravocon that Bethany called her to be on her podcast, to me, it's like there is this, and Kelly's like, why would I be on your podcast? Like, there is
Mm-hmm.
this like arrogance, a little bit of like, oh, and I mean, I never assume anyone wants to be on my podcast. I mean, there's certain people I'm friends with that are like, you're going to come on. But in general, I'm always like, okay, good, we got this guest. Even if I had them before, things change in
Yeah.
this business.
Yeah.
So I think there's this little bit of arrogance, like she reached out to Ebony, and now this, I think where it's just like Bethany thinks like she is up here and the other housewives are down here, and like Kelly should be thrilled that she's back in the limelight and want to go on your podcast. It's like, that's not really how it works. Like, you wronged this person.
Yeah.
I could understand why they may not want to sit down with you and chat.
Yeah. And no, no diss to Bethany.
Yeah,
But she has a personality type that's a little she's a train on the tracks, and she's gonna run over you if you're not careful, if you're not like, if you don't know how to like actually have like I felt a little bad for Nene. Like, to me,
totally. I was
that
just
was
gonna say
not,
that.
yeah, like, and even a tiny bit Jill. You know what I mean? Like, she railroads over them a little bit. Even Rachel, you know what I mean? Like, there's just like a railroady aspect to all of those conversations that she's having, that they feel like 75% one-sided, if that makes sense.
And I have from a source, now I don't know if this is true, but I have from a source that Nene went back and forth and went to people of like, should I do this? Should I not do this? Like, I think Nene went in knowing, like, it to me, it's like, why? How can I say this? Like, there's no shade to Bethany, but
Yeah.
Nene is Nene. Why give that to Bethany? Why not just say, this is Nene Leaks YouTube. Is this thing on? And just kind of talk and get
Yeah.
your own coin. I mean, whether Bethany says I guarantee you she did not pay these people. So to me, it's like, it's good, but I understand. Like, I heard from a reliable source, two sources, that Nene was like, I don't know if I should do this. And look, if you compare that interview to like Nene's interview with Carlos King, it's like, to me, the best interview Nene has ever done was the one with Carlos, because she knows Carlos, she trusts him.
Yes.
And to me, it's like, that was it. Like everything was wrapped up with a nice bow. To me, it was a reminder, hey, children, you might be in season, 12, 13 of whatever of Atlanta, but don't ever forget the two that built this house, Nene and Carlos.
Yes.
And we don't need to really remind everyone every day. But now that we are, we're number one. And that was it was such a good interview. It's like, oh, Nene, like it was wrapped up, like just
yes. She needs a safe space. The difference.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So Carlos, I love me some Carlos King. Carlos, please come on my podcast. I get like tongue tied because I love me some Carlos King so much. Like I study like the way that he goes about it, because you can see him listening. You can feel him listening. You can feel that there's love, but he's not going to bullshit you. But he's also going to listen to, like, if you got something to say. The fact that he pivoted to in person because she was like, oh no, Carlos, you got to keep this in person. And now, he's banging out these amazing in-person interviews that it gives me goosebumps because you just get the authenticity in the room versus when I think Bethany, I do not think authenticity. Again, note this, she's got her rapid fire energy, like the little TikTok things, like, it kind of feels like she's kind of like, that's good for her, but there's something about the podcast that feels inauthentic, in my country opinion.
Yeah, no. And like the worst for me with the Bethany, I didn't really, but like there was one part where she was saying something like, to Nene, like, well, you were offered like a friend of role and like last month. I'm glossing over the details, but Nene actually said, if you listen to, she's like, no. And Bethany was like, no, like in season, and Nene was like, no. And Bethany was like, no, like we're just like,
how you gonna tell me about my life?
Right. And she was like, no, we are saying the same thing. Like you were offered this and then this. It's like she writes the narrative. And then that's fine. I mean, I do that too. You want to lead the horse to water, and you want the horse to drink. But if the horse is at the well and they don't drink, like many things I tee up and they're just, they fall flat. You're like, well, that's not the answer that I wanted. So now we're going to go over here, but you have to listen to the actual answer.
Yes.
You can't like make controversy where there is none. And I felt that one moment bothered me more than any, where Nene was like very nice, very polite. I mean, if she was with Carlos, she would have been like, bitch, shut up, move on.
What the fuck you talk about?
And because she was comfortable with Carlos. That's the difference. And I think, and then when I found out that she didn't even know she wanted to do that interview, I was like, well, that makes sense. But that moment bothered me. I'm like, Nene just told you are wrong. How can you not hear what she's saying to you?
Take it in, pivot, like I think that's where Bethany kind of like she has the blinders on sometimes. She doesn't like, and in a podcast setting you have to be able to pivot. You have to, or it just ends up being a 75% sided one conversation. Well, as we wrap up this Barbara Walters portion of the show, what is your advice for new Bravo celebrities given this era of like changes?
I mean, I think like the people that really like last season, when we had Rinna and Diana and all the changes were happening on Beverly Hills, everyone was like, Crystal's going to be fired. And I'm like, no, she's not. Like, my advice is the error, like Crystal is, if you look at it, she does the job. I mean, Jeff Lewis, I know, just shaded her at Bravocon. I'm not saying Crystal is going to go down in the history of like the best housewives. I'm not saying she has 10 years in her, but I really think we're in it, especially with reality reckoning. And the audience is just smarter, where when you come in, it's like Jen Shaw tried to do it, or when you try to throw in, or Marlo Hampton, who was a friend of and finally got to be in the cast, when you throw in everything under the kitchen sink and you're trying so hard to be shocking and dramatic and crazy and over the top, A, the audience can see through it, and B, Bravo does not want it. I say all the time, like, you work in a corporation, people don't really want you to bring your A game. They don't want you to show up and say, hey, listen, I'm telling you, job, I know how to do it better. I don't want to do it this way. They don't want that. They want you to be great at the way that they do it. It is a corporation. And so when you stick out and you're the outlier, like the season Dorinda went absolutely crazy on Tinsley, she lost her job. She's on pause. Now she's back. We're over that. But like, my advice is like, you don't have to be the most extra, just show up and just be authentic. Like people, housewives say to me all the time, like, if I was going to go on Beverly Hills, well, I personally think I would love Erica. I think I would get along and, and maybe I would think that I wouldn't get along with, I don't know, say Kyle. Now, if I show up and somehow on the third day, Kyle is so wonderful. And in the third week, I am so bonding with Kyle and I hate Erica, go with that. Like you're in the moment. And so like, just be with what's in front of you. Like, don't have a preconceived notion of how to be so crazy or get the camera time. I really think the way to last today is just to show up and just do the job. You look at like a Sutton who was grown into the role. She didn't start there. So it's like, you need to just show up and you don't have to be the outlier. And I actually think it hurts you to be the outlier.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it comes back down to that word that we've kind of circled around a little bit, authenticity. And I think the audience, if they're going to pick up on anything, is if you're being fake or if you're being authentic. Are you self-producing or are you just going with the flow, Yeah.
And it's so much, if you self-produce, it's going to trip you up. It's going to come back to you. You're also going to be exhausted at the end of the day.
Yes.
And it's like, you're going to have to keep track of so much. Just show up and like look at the best people. One day they're happy with this person and they hate this person. I think that's all authentic. Like you said, flip-flopper. Yes, I'm a flip-flopper. Each week we see a different set of facts that we watch, and somebody that you liked last week might be acting like a fool this week. That's called just observing everything for what it is.
I hold the right to change my mind.
I don't understand, to be honest with you, I don't understand the opposite. And people are so pro Teresa, so pro Melissa. They hated Rinna. They love this one. It's like, you're not paying attention to any of the facts, and you also don't know these people, and you're writing so hard for them. I like to just observe the facts, and yes, it changes like week to week and sometimes even within an episode. Right.
Yeah. I think what it is that Housewives is like football for the gays and the girls. And so like how some people will be very analytical, see how the team changes, they'll switch out their fantasy football. And some people are going to be about the Raiders and the Raiders and the Raiders only.
Yeah. I mean, it's Kyle that used to say that back in the day. She's like, this is like women's and gay men's football. It's true. It is true. I mean, it's true.
Well, speaking of Nene Leakes, in my country opinion, one of the greatest housewives of all time, she has inspired one of the classic SOFE pod games. I call it Go to Bed Wig. I'm pretty sure you remember the reference, Go to Bed Wig, close your legs to married men. So we're going to do Go to Bed Wig Bravo shows edition. And so the flip side is like Go to Bed Wig is like you're a little thirsty, you're a little tired, go to bed. The opposite is like come to the party or whatever you want to make the opposite. So I'm going to tell you the name of a Bravo show. And you're going to tell me if they should go to bed wig or come to the party. How do we feel about Southern Charm?
It's so funny. I knew you were going to start with that. Prior to this season, for a long time, go to bed wig. Now, come to the party. Come to the party. This is the best season in a really long time.
It really is. It's so good. Gosh, what's her little name? Sending her little snatch to people just to make Shep mad. I mean, that is iconic.
Taylor. Who thought Taylor would?
Taylor.
And I think it's like Vanderpump Rules in the beginning. Like you think about it, a lot of these people have known each other forever. And it's like, this is a real group of friends. It's not a casted show. This season, come to the party. And I'm shocked at how much I'm liking it.
Yes. How do we feel about Below Deck Med with Captain Sandy?
Go to bed, wig.
Yeah, she's a little tired.
I'm over it.
Yeah, she needs a nap. Real Housewives of New York, the new cast.
I mean, I only have two choices. I would say go to bed wig, but I understand how people like it. And I think if I rewatch it or maybe next season, I don't hate it. There are seasons of Housewives I've hated, but if I had to choose one, I would say go to bed wig.
Yeah, I don't hate it either. I love Brynn. Like, I wish I was rich enough that Brynn would date me. And her shoes getting caught in the escalator, the fact that that's like the biggest moment to be out of Bravocon says a lot. But
it's classic.
Brynn, icons only. Yes. How do we feel about, I feel like I know this answer. How do we feel about Winter House?
Go to bed, wig.
Yeah, I figured.
It was great. It was great the first season. I loved it.
Yes. Yeah. The mixing of, like, I feel like they're trying to force they're trying to make fetch happen by like
Too
mixing all
much.
these franchises together. Yeah, the current season, it's kind of, it hasn't gotten me yet. How do we feel about the classic diamond holders that is Real Housewives of Beverly Hills?
This season or the
In
classics?
general, in general.
Stay at the party season 1 through today, every minute of the day. I think this is a great season. I think the first season was great. I think it's all great.
I think they can host the party. That would be a good party,
They
right?
can host the party. There's just something about, I feel like other housewives feel the same way too. Like when you're with the Beverly Hills ladies, it's just like they're more in the industry because they live right there. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't
You can
know.
just feel the
Fascinating.
sparkle coming off of
Yeah.
them. You know they all
Yeah.
smell good.
Yeah. You just feel it. So I'm all about it.
Yes. Okay, good. I'm liking this party. I feel like I would have fun at this party. How do we feel about Married to Medicine? Wow.
I mean, I've interviewed people. Some people love it. I say go to bed, wig. I'm
Okay.
very, very optimistic with Phaedra back on it. I think it is the smartest casting in so long. I think Phaedra is an all-star, and I think she can really change this whole show up and really, mind you, it's also really well rated. It's a really
Yeah.
highly rated show. So it falls lackluster the past few seasons to me.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen. I feel like there's like a potential for some magic to happen, but like is it just like classic drama with Quad's ex-husband coming on with his new wife? Like that to me, that and Phaedra is like what could either break or save the show right now.
If this season doesn't do it with all that, I don't know
Yeah,
what's
they have to
going
go to bed.
to. Yeah.
We're rounding up this corner. We have a few more contestants on this go to bed wig stage. How do we feel about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City?
This season, start the party, stay at the party, don't end the party. Season 3, I feel, was one of the worst seasons in Housewives history. I hated it. I
Do you
could
think she got
barely
drunk and
watch
hit
it.
herself?
Apparently, according to Bravocon, we're all going to find out. I
Yeah.
feel like that's someone asked her, "Are we going to find out, or who hit you, and how'd you get the black eye?" And I think she said, "You're going to find out this season." I don't know if that's true.
Hmm.
I almost don't care. That's how much I
Yeah.
hated season 3. I think this season it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love Monica. I love Angie. I love
I like
all the
Monica.
originals. I think they're lightening it up. Andy had some choice words for Mary Cosby about how long is this sustainable, that you just don't participate. I think it's hilarious sitting in the limo and getting the McDonald's. And I love this season of Salt Lake. Love.
That Watch What Happens Live with Mary Cosby and Z-Way. And Z-Way tried to give her the Filet-O-Fish, and Mary's like, what the fuck do you want me to do with that?
And at times I'm like, is this now an act? Like, are you, I don't know. I'm just like,
She's not that good. I think this is just Mary.
She don't care who you are.
No.
I'm like, she's great.
Last but not least, on our Go to Bed Wig stage, Bravo shows. How do we feel about Scandival creating Vanderpump Rules?
Well, I have said this and I'll stand by it. I think seasons 1 through 7 of Vanderpump Rules were the best seasons of a reality show. I loved seasons 1 through 7.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with Jackson Stassi leaving. Then after that, those 2 seasons with all the newbies and Max and Brett, and then the season after were bad. And I think Scandival certainly brought life back into it. I mean, look, I think talk about a resurgence. I mean, I have heard from reliable sources that it was the end. The plug was being pulled. They all knew it. Nobody was making any money. And so I feel like it's just the right way you should do it. You should be really successful. Then you really see the end. And now to me, there's not a lot of arrogance. There's like, it's almost like I feel like everyone on that stage realizes how lucky they are to have a second chance. And yes, Ariana is making the most money, but they're all making money. Sheena's podcast is doing great. She's selling Good as Gold records. Lala's podcast is top rated. Like everyone has made money from this except Raquel. but everyone else. And so I feel like they almost appreciate it and they get it. I just feel they get it. The panels of them, I feel like it's truly all-stars. I mean, you think about all these shows that have casts that don't stay and they change. We have like basically all originals more or less. And yes, let's just count James and Lala. They've been there for so long. And now Allie's in the mix. So it's like, it's a strong cast and they all kind of get how it works. And so I am all for it.
Yeah.
Not like the heyday years, but I feel like it's good still.
Yeah. The only thing that worries me a little bit when movies start getting promoted like the year before and like reality shows start getting promoted like 3 months before they come out, it worries me a little bit. So like the fact that they're going so heavy on promo already now for a show that's coming out in January, I'm like, okay, let's see. But I hope it'll be good. But do you know what I mean?
I do. And I mean, you can't sustain the show based on Scandal alone. Right.
Exactly.
So look, they all say it's an interesting season and this and that. So I'm willing to watch.
Yeah, well, they're definitely playing ball, so I appreciate them for that, and for that I'll watch. Our final game before I let you get back to your very booked and busy life. Thank you so much for being generous with your time, David. I really, truly appreciate it. Let's play a little word association, a little word association. I'm going to give you the names of housewives, past and present. Whatever comes to mind. It could be one word, it can be a phrase, it could be a sound, it could be a look. You just tell me what comes to mind, or give me. First up, let's start with your friend, Luann de Lesseps.
Class act.
Yes. Candy Burris.
Candy Rich.
Yes. Erica Jane.
Badass.
You went to the show, right?
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
I think Erica's a badass. Like, look, I mean, I would handle things the same way she did. Like you survive and it's really hard. I mean, I can't imagine like on her level when the whole world hates you, you're going to go on and you come out the other side. And I mean, look at her tagline this season. It's not like I'm some like Erica apologist where I like die on the sword for her, but I understand Erica, and having met Erica several times, I mean, I'm like all business. I'm not really a warm and fuzzy person, although everyone thinks I'm so nice. Erica in the real world is business like and cold but warm at the same time, if that makes any sense. She's just like you would think. She's like, hi, yep, great, you want a picture, nice to see you again. Like that's our a little bit of chitter chat. She knows who I am, but
she's a drag queen.
And like she like thank you, thank you for coming out, you didn't have to be here and I appreciate it. And just like I'm okay with like a colder interaction. I don't mean that with any shade. So I think she's badass. Yeah.
No, and when I say she's a drag queen, I mean that in high regard. I love drag queens. I've met many a drag queen, and like they're not all warm and fuzzy, and that's okay. But for example, I saw Willem last weekend. I've been seeing Willem on and off now for like almost 10 years at different events, and like saw me in the crowd, immediately recognized me, said thank you, was so happy to see me. But again, like very business, but there's warmth there. So I totally get it. Erica Jane is like top of the tops for me. How do we feel about Ramona Singer?
I mean, disaster.
Yes. Yes, sadly, unfortunately. How do we feel about Nene Leakes?
You're not gonna like my answer.
Oh gosh, it's okay.
The first word, I gotta be honest with the first word that comes to mind. I feel sorry, Carlos. I feel overrated.
Oh, wow. And then the fact that she was putting that label on other people. Okay, I get that. How do we feel about Bethany Frankel?
Confused.
I agree with that one. Giselle Bryant. Another Carlos favorite.
Giselle is... What is the word? She is a player. Like, she knows how to play the game, and I really don't think we get anything real from Giselle. And I don't even know if that's a insult, because to be able to stay there and not have to be Kyle and Mauricio or Erica or Luann getting arrested, I mean, to be able to sustain it and really protect your inner sanctimonious family and like to protect the real stuff that needs protecting, and
Yeah.
B, in this season is kind of a skill. So
Yeah.
I don't even mean that negatively, but I think she's a player. She
Yeah.
just she hides. She hides.
Yeah, to quote Carlos, force multiplier. Yeah. And I just watched the season premiere this morning. I recorded it last night. And she's playing ball because she's calling her best friend to task. First episode, like, come on, girl, this is bullshit with your husband. So I appreciate Giselle for that. How do we feel about Kyle Richards, an icon when we think about the Housewives constellation?
Kyle is,
That
the
face.
thing, well, it's, what's really funny is like, you look at like a Bethany, like, man, like in this world, things change, right? You asked me about Bethany 6 months ago, 3 months ago, it wouldn't have been confused.
Yeah.
It probably would have been the Candy Burris rich, but I don't
Yeah.
want to use the same word.
Yeah.
How do I feel about Kyle? Kyle is, what is I have the word at the my forefront. Kyle is a, I don't want to say manipulator because that's not the actual word, but somebody who like,
Machinator.
yeah, like Kyle will do what Kyle has to do. And
Yeah.
ultimately we might think a lot of things about Kyle, but it's all about Kyle.
Yeah. She's
So
having a little bit of suck
I
my
don't know
dick
what the
energy recently that
word
I'm really
is.
loving. She has very
Yeah.
like, suck my dick. I'm doing what I want right now. And I'm kind of here for that energy.
Maybe like
Um,
Machiavellian.
yes, ooh, that's
Machiavellian.
a good one.
That's the word for Kyle.
How do we feel about Shannon Bador? I want her to take a break. I want her to like go away for a minute. I really need her to go away for a
I was
minute.
just gonna say Shannon is insecure. That's the word.
Yeah. Yeah. And as somebody
On
who
my
struggled with that, I
podcast,
feel that.
yeah, and on my podcast, I recommended to Shannon, putting the alcohol treatment aside,
Yeah.
she needs to, first of all, she needs to deal with that. She needs to break up with John. She just said she hasn't talked to him. I feel she needs to go in Orange County every Saturday night between 7 and 8:30, the prime hours, pick a reservation. She needs to go to a different restaurant every Saturday night, not the same restaurant where you have the same table and the staff, a different hot, trendy restaurant in the OC or LA to make matters worse, alone. She needs to sit at a table and order an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert alone every Saturday night for 52 weeks. And I guarantee you, she's going to be miserable the time, miserable the second time, the fifth time, she's going to be unhappy. And somewhere in the middle, she's going to be like frustrated. She's not going to be insecure. She's going to be like, I'm so annoyed that I have to do this. And by the end, around the 40s, she's going to be like, this isn't bad. And by the 50th time, she's going to be like, girl, don't you sit at my table. I love my life. She needs to go out to eat by herself for a full course 2-hour meal on a Saturday night, every Saturday for 52 weeks. That's my advice for Shannon Bador.
I love this. First of all, yes, yes, yes. Let the church say
Right?
amen. And I'm not even a church goer. So I'm
sit in your uncomfort.
Yes,
Sit
yes,
in your
yes.
uncomfort, girl.
Yes. Be alone. Like, be okay with being alone. It took me a long time. Like, I was one of those that like, I was scared of going to the movies by myself. I was scared to go to the restaurant by myself. And now I'm dating now and my standards are so high and I fucking love it because I'm not letting garbage back into my life ever again. And
I do everything by myself so much that I've been doing it for so long that like when someone else can't, like, I understood that like 10 years ago. I don't know. Now it's like, and it's not even a judgment. It's more of a like, oh my God.
At your big old age, ma'am.
It's like, wait, this is how most people are. And like, thank God I'm not like that. I understand, no criticism to people that are, but you have to really just do it so many times. It's like flexing a muscle. I'm like,
no, for sure.
I want to go to this concert. I just got tickets. I know we talked about you coming, but the tickets went on sale, sweetie. And I texted you and I emailed you and I called you 1,000 times and there was no answer. No. The train, like Bethany, you say, the train has left the station. I already have my ticket. So I would love for you to come, but we're obviously not sitting together because this ticket is not refundable. So do you want to come or not?
Yeah, no, and that resonates to me so much about the continued sitting in the uncomfortable. I'm on week 3 right now of this program called 75 Hard. It's no alcohol, no cheat meals. I have to work out twice a day. I have to read 10 pages of nonfiction, and it's been hard. And last week I knew, because I've done this fitness thing so many times, I knew that week 2 sucks. I know that week 3 sucks. I looked it up, I reminded myself, and it's just like, okay, this morning I went and I was like, do I work out after the podcast or before? And I know myself, once noon hits, if I haven't gotten those two workouts in, my chances get really slim to none as the day goes on. And so I got it done this morning, and I feel freaking great.
See, that's just what you have to do.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And as somebody who was leaning on alcohol for a long time to numb a lot of pain and sadness and loneliness, I really hope that she finds a healthier relationship with alcohol, because that's ultimately one of the reasons why I was doing this challenge, was because I was feeling like I was not having the healthiest relationship anymore.
And I mean, look, I think like with any drug, it's like, that's what it is. Like, I get why people go down, other than the fact that it's hereditary if you really have alcoholism, but I understand the leaning on alcohol too much to numb the goings on of daily life. But eventually it doesn't work, and you have to just deal with all the shit, which is not, trust me, I'd rather just have drinks all day myself.
Yes.
But it doesn't work that day, because the buzz will wear off at some point, and then you're still left not liking yourself. So Shannon, that is my advice, right?
Yes. Well, lovely, lovely advice. Well, on that note, I am so grateful for your generosity with your time. I think you're amazing. I love, again, you have very no fucks given energy, and that's the energy that I'm trying to channel in my life. So I thank you for that.
Anytime. That could be possibly the best compliment that one could give me, because I really just don't, and it's not easy. And I'll come back again, so feel free to have me anytime. And everyone should listen to Behind the Velvet Rope podcast, which is 7 days a week, Behind the Velvet Rope on Apple, Spotify. And I interview Bravo celebrities, and I also do chats like this where I just break it all down. I'm going to be covering Bravocon later this week.
Yes, I know that you have a friend that would happily chat Miami with you, but if you ever want another Latina perspective to come rotate with you, I'd love to dance with you also, sir.
I very well may, because I need that in Potomac. I have to watch the first episodes. It's on my list. So
Potomac is so good.
I might be taking you up on that very soon.
Yay! Well, I'll light up a few candles and say a prayer.
Okay, keep your fingers crossed, but it'll happen. I'll make it happen.
Okay, well, you're the best. Behind the Velvet Rope on Instagram, Behind the Velvet Rope, anywhere else that they should look you up, YouTube, wherever podcasts are found.
7 days a week, download us.
Yes. Please leave a 5-star review. That helps a shiny little glittery pirate ship like mine float in the sky a little bit more. Keep an eye out. I had my first live show. I've been on a little bit of a block in terms of editing it, but that live show footage will be coming out. You'll see my drag debut. And so keep an eye out for that. David, keep an eye out for David back on the show, hopefully in 2024. And we will talk soon. Thank you so much, David.
Anytime, and tag me when this comes out, and I will share it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, my love.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
MeMeCherry presents a series of fortunate events. Fortunate events. Fortunate events. A series of fortunate events.